Music is subjective, and our opinions may differ.
Before we get started, I wanted to hop on here really quick and just lay down the rules about how I do my scoring categories. It's something that I took a little bit of time to come up with to eliminate my own personal bias while also being able to review music that's not normally in my genre to review it as if I was. The first thing is accessibility. As someone who has taken quite a bit of music lessons, I wanted to kind of find out a way to make it so I could score without it being like, oh, this is what I think is good. I'll still be able to do that. But the truth of the matter is that it's what I believe is the accessibility on a mass market, or if it's something specialized that could both hurt or help the score of accessibility. The next one is vibe. I wanted to kind of be able to score an album and songs regardless of how I feel about the album to be able to say how it vibes. And, I think the easiest way to tell when a song vibes is if you kind of lose yourself in the music. And to me, that's a very good indication of vibes. Sometimes some things demand your attention a little bit more, which could hurt the overall vibe, but still help it in other ways. The next thing is that each song could or could not either give it a album strength or an album weakness. That could be something that is taken away from the overall score if, depending on how I feel like it affects the overall enjoyment of the album. So, for example, a song could have some of my favorite melodies or a melody that I just personally do not vibe with. That could entail an album strength or an album weakness. Anyway, it's a very simple thing, and I hope that you like this album review. So let's hop right to it. A little context again before we start the video, and that is to understand where I came from. And that is about almost 2 years now. 2 years this year, I will have started with this channel. The very first song I ever listened to was exactly this, Exo'S Wolf. And I did this originally as a joke. I've said this many times. But here's the interesting thing. The joke was played on me because I was not expecting the trap that was inlaid in the world of K-pop. Because this has basically gotten to the point now where this is basically everything that I listen to. Obviously, I still listen to metal a lot as well, don't get me wrong. But this made me realize that this is not just some sort of weird cringe fest. And to be honest, that's a very important piece of where I'm at now. There is a couple of barriers that needed to be broken. And this was by far the first barrier that had to have been broken. And that is to understand that it's not just some cutesy retro 90s refitting of cute Korean boys singing music. This is something vastly different. And so that's why EXO is so important to me and in the channel as well. So here it is, the album review for EXO's newest album. I was never able to be around for their comebacks, except for this one. So you could also tell that as someone with this is where it started, this is big for me. So the true question is this already our first no skip album? We'll have to find out. Let's check it out, starting with Cream Soda.
cream 섞일수록 더욱 진해져 baby 또 목이 타는 기분 살짝 위태로운 지금 다른 걸론 절대 만족 못해 baby come closer 입안 가득 퍼져 처음 맛본 특별한 끌림 이 자극적인 텐션 like a bottle of cola 넌 탄산처럼 팍 퍼져 있니 성이 다 마비된 듯 사랑 앞에서 baby 자꾸만 비트 까다로운 척 이리저리 재봐도 원래 몸에 해로운 게 끌리는 거 알지 수치 못할 appetite 내 모든 걸 뒤흔드는 넌 I need all your cream soda 녹아들수록 좀 더 달콤해져 내 맘을 아주 쏙 빼놔 I need all your 진해져 babe Baby go 덤덤 머릿속을 shaking 딱한 입에 난 이미 freezing Give me that yum 맞질 않는 taste 날 사로잡은 달콤한 flavor
달콤해 이건 마치 bonbon dessert 한 모금들이 마신 순간 덤덤 before 날 자제하려 시도했지만 조절이 안 돼 마보다 본능이 so fast 이대로 멈출 수 없어 you know I gon' get it
주지 못한 appetite
Get
내
it
모든 걸 뒤흔든 그만 I need your cream soda 녹아들수록 좀 더 달콤해져 내 맘을 아주 쏟구나 I need your cream soda
넘쳐나는 거품 fill it up 부드럽게 채워 get it up
벗어나기 원치 않아 뛰기로 번져갈 love so sweet 머리가 깨질 듯이 시린 너의 투명한 바닥빛까지 자꾸 욕심나 좀 더 맘을 녹여줘 살짝만 볼 중독적인 appetite 내 심장이 맴도는 말 I need you I need you cream soda 할수록 좀 더 달콤해져 그 끝을 알고 싶어 난 I need you I need you cream soda 쏘는 듯한 느낌 꽤나 부드러운 크림 섞일수록 더욱 진해져 babe 그 목이 타는 기분 살짝 위태로운 지금 다른 걸론 절대 만족 못해
Perfect. Okay, let's discuss cream soda before we move on. To me, cream soda was the perfect way to start out this album. It sets the tone for the rest of the other songs, and honestly, it's probably actually one of my favorite songs that I've heard since I've done this channel. This song is pretty much on constant repeat. I listen to this song pretty often, so as you could probably tell, that this is probably going to get some really high marks for that reason. There's a couple things that I think really stand out about it, and that is the use of the brass instruments using the wind. It really just kind of adds this extra depth to the bass, and I really, really like that. The bass that they use in it as well, very effective. I really think that the ability that they chose to incorporate that generally overall with the harmonization of their vocals just really comes in quite fresh. You'd think that someone who has been in this type of game for long enough that might have started to see some sort of like wear or kind of like formulaic feel, and this song is very much the opposite. This whole track here, I think, to me is just one of the most perfect hype songs I've ever heard. I really just kind of like the blending of all their voices together, so distinct. They work in tandem, and it's a fairly larger group with EXO, so I feel like that this group within itself really, really aids to the belief of the quality of the song. And for me personally, I think Cream Soda is a massively just big song that you could just play anywhere. I don't think you're going to have anybody be offended by it. If they are, then they're absolutely weird. But in any case, Cream Soda, near perfect song for me. I think that this is just perfect, from the subtle adding of the rap to the subtle adding of their vocals. Everything together, it is truly one of the pieces that I think is absolutely the MVP of this song as well, or of this album as well. This is a great way to start. So let's move on now to Regret It.
I'm on your side, I'm on your side, I'm on your side, let's bring it baby 모든 건 너로 시작됐어 모든 걸 걸어 준비됐어 Dive in
Tell me 너를 볼 때면 달리는 맘이 나를 어디로 데리고 갈지 어디든 있어줄래 영원히 내 모든 하루는 너에게 뛰어들어 벗어나고 싶지 않아 no way out 단 한 번의 강렬함에 take down So baby let me know 지금 너의 맘 나의 모든 없이 내게 말해봐
Amazing 두 번 다시는 없을 이 떨림 깊은 꿈에서 깨어나듯이 눈부신 너를 마주한 느낌
불안한 눈빛도 잠들어 네 곁에선 끝도 없는 어둠 장면의 flashlight 잊어버리게 해라는 생각
So let you know 지금 나의 맘 꾸밈없이 날 비춰
So don't make me regret it 그렇길 바래 매일 널 향한 나의 맘이 길을 잃지 않게 해줘
Don't make me regret it 모든 건 너로 시작됐어 모든 걸 Don't make me regret it 멈출 수 없다면 just go
후회 없이 내게 말해봐
Look 네가 날 떠난다면 나는 길을 잃을 거야 You're on my side in the sky 어쩌면 조금 뻔한 진부한 말들만 내뱉지만 내 맘이 시키는 대로 말하는 것뿐이야 거짓말처럼 너만 다른 색무감을 쓴 듯 흑백 같은 세상 속이 너로 물들어가 And it feels good 이번엔 뭔가 다른 것 같아 So don't make me regret it
그렇길 바래 매일 널 향한 나의 맘이 길을 잃지 않게 해줘 Don't make me regret it
모든 건 너로 시작됐어 모든 걸 너로 준비됐어 멈출 수 없다면 just go
후회 없이 내게 말해봐
모든 건 너로 시작됐어 모든 걸 걸어 준비됐어 Dive in
후회 없이 내게 말해봐
Okay, so with Regret It, I regret to say that this is probably the song that I probably would skip. To me personally, I feel like that the hip hop in the beginning and that kind of continues on does not fully stick with me. I feel like almost makes the full recovery with the chorus itself, but I can't get over the hip hop that I've been wanting to forget. And I know that this might make some people upset, but this to me just was not my vibe. I feel like that this would also be kind of weirdly hard to get into for some people. Like for me personally, I would just say that like even if I was someone who was into more hip hop and more like R&B and stuff like that, I feel like that this would just feel a little antiquated to me personally. And then I would feel like personally that I think that this is kind of some of the stuff that has not aged very well. But again, there is a lot of positives with this song. I do think that first and foremost, I do like the vocal arrangement behind the song. Aside from that, I think that the use of just the higher tones really does actually add quite a bit to the song. And like I said, this is actually one of the songs that coming into it, I was expecting to like as well. And then every single time that I listened to it, it just wasn't quite my vibe. And so for me personally, I think that this would make it so this is the skippable song. And again, I still don't think it's a bad song. It's just that I think with everything else, this probably is just the one that I could very easily just move on to and get on to the other songs. But that being said, I will say though, again, vocally speaking, perfect. I think that they just really nail a lot of the tones. I think that they even nailed what I think is kind of, something a little bit harder to work with, and they still made the majority of the song work. So that's just my personal opinion. I hope that you're not too upset with that. So anyway, let's move on to Hear Me Out.
1, 2, 3 마음에 들어 너의 마음에 들려 날 get it let's fly together 나는 이를 잊지 baby I can't help it 날 밀어내려 네 시도는 just save it Cause I've been thinking about some time with you 넌 아직도 이 모든 게 시작일 뿐 바라는 것은 전혀 없어 my baby 같이 밤새 같은 곳을 보는 게 내 favorite curtains 어렵게 생각하지마 시간만 아까워 Hear me out, yeah 괜찮아 뭐 어때 Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out 망설일 필요 없는데 Oh babe, hold me close 진정한 그만큼 난 보여준 모습을 알고 떠날 준비해 본 주 왜 또 이런 대우를 받으며 배우는 너에게 더 잘하는 법도 분명해 I can see you here frustrated 쉽게 말해서 I need you baby 알잖아 재미없는 말을 굳이 꺼낼 pride 난 행동으로 and you'll be mine for the night yeah.
한 걸음 멀어지는 너 애써 피하려 하지는 마 My love 딱 한 가지만 확실히 해줄래 얘기해줘
내게 다가와준다 숨길 생각 말고 Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out 괜찮아 못해 Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out 망설일 필요 없는 길에 Oh babe, hold me close Hold me close 신중한 그만큼 잠시 밀고 당기는 건 알래 줄인 너의 맘
그 속에 숨긴 너의 진심 다 보여 이미
솔직하게 말해봐 솔직해져봐 내가 먼저 열어둘 테니 다 꺼내봐 Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out okay. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out 망설일 필요 없는데
Oh babe hold me closely 거짓거리만이
너만 분명해
그 시간 낭비하지 않게
매 순간들은 솔직할게 단 한순간도 후회 없게 hey, 맘이 가는 대로
Okay. So when it comes to Hear Me Out, personally, I feel like that this song, at first, I did not really like. I thought of this as just like, oh, regret it, and then Hear Me Out, oh no. But after I listened to this album, I probably went through this album roughly 30, 40 times. After quite a few listens, actually, you know what? This song actually started to grow on me. It really did. I actually really ended up thinking that this song was the vibe song for me. Like, to me, this was just the song that as soon as I put it on, I was like, oh my goodness, do I feel just that awesome vibe. It's weird. It was like a 70s lounge kind of feel to it that just had this really, really just kind of mysterious kind of vibe. And I really ended up just greatly appreciating this song after quite a few listens. It's one that really did end up growing on me. So in a sense, I think that this might have been actually one of the bigger surprises for me of the album. The harmonization, the pieces that they picked, the harmonies, they were all just so subtle. They're all just so subtle. And I think that that's what really led to it. It's just like this overall feel of just like, you know what? I could put this on with like a candlelit dinner and just have it just an absolutely just amazing time. And I don't think that anybody would have batted an eye at it. This is, to me, almost like one of those songs that you could really just play anywhere. But the thing that's nice about it is that it's chill. You know, Cream Soda is awesome. You can put it on and have it everywhere because everybody's going to like it. But Hear Me Out is the same, but like on a chill version of that. Like, this song really, really just hits this kind of calming effect. And I think that for that reason, I was actually very impressed with how it worked out. I really appreciated the vocal distribution as well. I think that in a sense, this was and I've talked about this on the Dreamcatcher album review, this actually was a great placement of line. You know, I'm actually kind of glad they did Cream Soda, come out with the title song, nails it. Then they did Regret. You know, it's fine. You know, and then Hear Me Out kind of re-lifts itself. It lifts itself back up. It reintroduces the rest of the album into this kind of like nice, just kind of really vibey 70s feel. And I think that it's just absolutely just turned out to be probably the biggest surprise for me on the entire album. Anyway, let's move on to Private Party.
Yeah. 너의 시선 끝에 난 hard explode 걷잡을 수 없는 선을 넘은 골 이상은 nice 전부 cool 위험한 본능만 남은 상태로 한껏 부쩍이는 팔이 깊어진 사이 슬쩍 받아드는 마음이 끄는 발이 미끄러진 듯이 내게로 falling 자꾸 마주치는 눈빛 우연이 아닌 우리 둘 어둠이 깔린 분위기 속 가만히 우릴 내버려둬 perfect timing 가까이 더 숨소리 하나까지 걸려 더는 맞을 것 같은 춤을 춰 솔직하면 할수록 좋아 말을 안 해도 우린 누워서 급할 이유 따윈 이대로겠어 Just dance with me 천천히 lips on me 본색을 드러내 깊어진 순간 What can I say 다시금 버려도 Baby you know what to do Dancing my shawty Dancing my shawty Let's get it started 우리만의 private party Dancing my shawty Dancing my shawty Dancing my body 우리만의 private party 우리만의 private party Let me get to romance in you 이 공간에 살 수 없는 사람 중 우린 서로를 알아봐 운명인 듯그 다음 일은 계속 당겨지는 둘 반짝이는 조명 아래 넌 great 솔직하게 느껴지는 감정을 play 텐션을 깰 생각은 막 계속해서 더 배가 될 수 있게 시간을 멈춰 Just chance in name 햇살이 밤에 거울릴 너기에 지금 이대로 I can't say 긴장은 풀어도 Baby you know what to do 우리만의 private party my shawty, my shawty, my shawty, my shawty, my body 우리만의 private party 우리만의 private party, private party 우리만의 private party Turn the lights down low 희미해진 이 순간 속 Baby girl 과감할수록 좋아 It's whatever you want 우리만의 private party 우리만의 private party
That, to me, that song, vocally speaking, might be actually one of the more impressive songs on this album. To me, I think that the song just really, really nails this perfect fine line of just, I think that there's a line where it can be too much and not enough, and it just strides that line so perfectly. To me, again, I was actually going into this one thinking I wasn't going to like this one, mainly because the fact of the matter is like partying and like all the kind of vibes that you get from like rap and hip hop. That is like one of my biggest like icks in the world is that, oh, we're gonna party it up and then, you know, we're awesome, we're flexing all our money, and like that to me is just so I was kind of expecting it to be this, but instead what I got is just like kind of a little bit of a vocal display of power and like control with a unique harmony, with a unique melody. And then what I would also like to think that when I listen to the song, just the vibes on this song are ridiculous. I feel like this is a song that I could really, and funny enough, you can now almost kind of always tell when a song, I really vibe with this song, when I accidentally almost start the next song before I even give its review, and that almost happened. So I think that this is a good song to really just get lost into. So again, another really good surprise, honestly, in many ways. I was just really expecting to be kind of down on this song, but in reality, I'm actually very up on this song. I actually greatly appreciate the vocal. Like I said, complex. This song is actually a little more complex than I give it credit for. The synth in it really, really has an interesting kind of sound, kind of still this retro 70s feel. I think that on top of that, then you got like their vocals obviously are on point. Then you have just like some nice the song is very textured, and I think that that's something that I really appreciate. No matter what, like as I go through that song, I think that's one of those songs that you can listen to multiple times over and over again and be able to pick out new and great things that kind of help aid the song in becoming actually a really, really good song. I was pretty impressed with it. So I think that that's kind of more or less how I feel about that song. I think that probably it might not be the easiest to have, in accessibility. Not because I think it's too weird or too crazy, but I could see that some people might want to feel like that this song might be a little bit harder to get into than some of the other songs. I don't know. That's just kind of my own personal thoughts. But anyway, that's Private Party. Let's move on to Cinderella.
멈춰버린 너와 나의 시계줄 시선 넘어 화려해진 city view 거지처럼 너를 재촉하는 몸 찰나 끊겨버린 춤 시계는 벌써 12시네 믿을 수가 없게 몰아치는 시간 앞에
그 누구도 막지 못해
깨어나는 어둠 아래 운난난 널 이대로
yeah.
불기는 싫어
다 뒤집어 fairy tale 벌써 심장이 아리대 It's just you and nobody else 온통 널 가둬버린 법칙들은
사라질 너 이곳에 남아 유리고도 뭘 나지게 나 이대로 제발 떠나지 마 둘만의 꿈을 깨버리지 마 익숙한 이 장면 속에 결국 널 잃은 채 밤새 후회하지 않게
이 엔딩 난 바꿔야 해
깨어나는 어둠 아래 우나나나 널 이대로 불기는 싫어 내 곁에 머물 순 없는지 내일 해가 떠올 때까지 baby 그대로 있어줘 영원히 Cinderella oh, Cinderella
Oh, Cinderella. It's truly a fairy tale song. Now, I will say the reason why is because if you were to tell me, I want you to choose out a song from this album other than Cream Soda to show someone, I would probably choose this song. I probably would. I think that this song is the dark horse for this album. For me personally, I think that the melody, super cool. I love the staccato stop and go on it. Really, really nice. Just perfectly executed. I think also, too, it shows off their vocal abilities probably better than most songs. I really just appreciate how it's been distributed down the line. Now that we're about halfway through the album, roughly, I think that this is the song that I think would be the perfect palate cleanser to kind of bring it all back. Like I say, to me, I think that there's a reason why they place a lot of emphasis on where tracks go. And for me, this is a perfect kind of reset. Now we have gotten, quite a bit of other stuff. Now we're going to kind of be moving into the back half, and we're going to be kind of start getting into the more ballady and kind of sadder part of the album. And I think that this kind of sets that up. You get the dramaticism that you kind of always expect and hope for. And I think at the same time, though, that the thing that really sets it apart is the willing to have a little bit of experimentation, but not make it too weird. Like, I think that that's kind of what it has over songs like Hear Me Out and Private Party even, is that those songs are a little bit more experimental than I would say most songs. But I think that this song strikes unique and original without being too hard to accept. So I think that to me personally, that this song is like legitimately the dark horse MVP of this whole album. If Cream Soda wasn't on here, I might say that this actually might be the best song on the album for me personally. So anyway, we're moving on to No Makeup. So let's check it out.
살짝 번진 너의 립스틱 더 바를 필요 없는 걸 허락해줘 내가 직접 모두 지워버리고 싶어 금세 터질 듯한 심장 그 어떤 색보다 자극적인 너의 green light 길고도 아슬할 tonight 이성의 끈을 잘라놔 yeah, 적당히 엉클어진 듯한 네 머릿결 하나까지 다 아름다워 There's just something I love about you I love you with no makeup on 꾸밈 없는 모습까지 beautiful 굳이 신경 안 써도 네 예쁜 눈코입 위에 살짝 남긴 kiss like 조금씩 더 맘을 열기 솔직한 널 보여줘 So take the makeup off 눈부신 조명은 전부 꺼놔 yeah. 내게 너 하나로도 충분할 테니 yeah. 지금 네 분위기는 나를 미치게만 해 밤이 깊어져가니 yeah, yeah. 그냥 단순하게 사랑하자 Babe 이 숨결이 증발되기 전에 yeah, 시선 끝이 부딪힌 순간에 시간마저 다 멈춘 것 같은 걸 And there's something I love about you I love you when I make up on yeah. 꾸밈 없는 모습까지 beautiful yeah. 굳이 신경 안 써도 네 예쁜 눈코입 위에 살짝 남긴 kiss like 조금씩 더 맘을 열기 솔직한 날 보여줘 So take the makeup off 천천히 baby please 원한다면 다 take it all love 더 확실해진 서로의 마음 솔직해질수록 설레는 그 이유 그 다음은 너야 I love you with no makeup on 꾸밈 없는 모습까지 beautiful 굳이 신경 안 써도 네 예쁜 눈코입 위에 살짝 남긴 kiss like 조금씩 더 맘을 열기 솔직한 널 보여줘 no. So take the makeup off
이 순간 숨김없는 모습으로 진짜의 널 보여줘
Baby you don't need no makeup
우린 더 편안하고 자연스러운 모습으로 함께 웃어
Baby you don't need no makeup
부디 내 옆에서 가장 너다울 수 있게 너
So take your makeup off
Oh, No Makeup. I think this is the track where they go just full retro R&B. It's really smooth. It's really great vocally. I think that this has some of the more clever harmonies and melody. I think that it's a pretty decent song. I'm not really the biggest fan of retro R&B, but I definitely see the appeal here. I think that to me personally, this is actually one of the more stronger vocal performances as well. Just really, really just gets all of the vibe. This is another thing, is the vibe on this is pretty huge for me. Like, I really can see the vibe that they were trying to set for. I really like the overall kind of smooth feel behind this one as well. Personally, I think that the ability that they have to be able to hit some of these vocal lines that they have in this song is quite incredible. One of the more impressive vocal performances for the album as well. To be honest, I think most of these songs are pretty much really high on vibes. this one specifically, I think it just really, really nails it. To me, it's almost like Hear Me Out Part 2. And I really, really think that this is kind of just a huge vibe machine. This whole album is just a huge vibe. And I think the song just keeps on adding to that, keeps on adding this pure just juggernaut feel that, like, you can't really stop the vibe. And I think that that's the biggest thing is the vocals are some of the most complex on the album in this song. And then you got this just really smooth vibe. And I think that it's just such a massive piece. And but like not in an like intrusive way. This is one of those songs that I think really is just a great addition. Like we just met, like I said, we just kind of had the halfway point. We had kind of this reset, and now we're kind of moving down into a more somber. We're bringing it down a little bit more into the calm feel to it. You know, this doesn't feel as quite as like, you know, when you get to like Private Party, Hear Me Out, Cream Soda, you know, those songs that just kind of are a little bit more intense. This is starting to kind of bring the vibe down a little bit. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day. And just this feel overall of just bringing it down and just talking about, you know, I greatly appreciate it. And I think that this song is a little bit of an underrated gem, but at the same time too, like, I think it's a very, very, very accessible too. I think this is one of those ones that I think if a lot of people found it, they'd probably really like it. So anyway, moving on to Love Fool.
넌 가끔 다정하게 굴지만 착각인 듯 다가가면 알수 가늠할 수 없는 언더가 좋아. Oh, no, 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 no. 둘 사이 틈 매일이 다르고 어쩔 땐 또 못된 장난 같아도 내겐 늘 기꺼이 지고 싶어 난. Oh my, 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 my.
짧은 한마디 몇 글자로도 충분할 테니 난 듣고 싶어. Get away, you can get away, 내게로 와.
말해줄게 내 답. I feel like a fool. 헤매어난 매일. What you want, what you want. 너로만 fool. 가득 차는 맘이. What's going on? Give me that truth, give me that. Give me that, give me that truth. You make me a fool. 난 그게 좋을 만큼.
Let's go 내게 깊이 빠져들어 깊이. Let's go 좀 더 깊이 빠져들어 깊이. Yeah, 에이, 다들 그래 빠졌대 푹 뭐라든 괜찮아 상관 안 해 Call me the fool 정확히 쑤시고.
남들 눈에 어떻게 보이면 어때 온통 놀아서 숨기는 건 못해. 저도 모자라 그냥 전부 주고 싶어다. 아끼고 싶은 건 너 하나뿐이야. Oh my 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 my.
굴뿐인 바다 그 안에 잠겨 하루 종일 너만 보고 싶어.
Get away, you can get away 내게로 와. 이젠 줄래 내 답. I feel like a fool. 헤매어난 매일. What you want. 너로만 fool. 가득 차는 맘이. What's going on? Give me that truth, give me that. Give me that, give me that truth. You make me a fool. 난 그게 좋을 만큼. 어떤 말도 좋아. 하는 맘 빼고 no no no. 내 대답은 이미 정해져 있어. 기다려도 좋아. 얼마든지 take it slow. 내 다음은 네 손에만 넘어가. I feel like a fool. 궁금해 네 매일. What you do. 자꾸만
Let's go 좀 더 깊이 빠져들어 깊이 Let's go 우린 깊이.
To me, there should be a little bit almost like a difference between like a title track and like a brand track. And to me, like the whole brand of this album, I think is encapsulated in this song. I think that the staccato on the like that stop and go kind of feel that they have on the chorus, I think is absolutely phenomenal. This is such a good song. For me personally, I think that there's just a lot to be played with when it comes to the vocals. You got like you got that really nice deep kind of going on. You got them just going off everywhere. It feels like a song that's like almost out of control, but like in a very controlled way. And I think that that's just really kind of a unique way of writing. Very, very hard too to kind of get that feeling that just like, you know, when you're a fool, you're in love and you're, you know, infatuated. Sometimes it makes it feel like that you got this whole like controlled chaos and like you're barreling towards the end or towards the beginning of something. And you don't really know what you're going to get until it crashes. And I think that that's what this song for me, in terms of like musicality, the way that the song is constructed, feels like, is just this controlled chaos. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. It's got a bunch of twists and turns. It's got some highs. It's got some lows. It takes everything that they build conceptually as a sound of this entire album and put it into one track. And to make a little bit of a metal reference, kind of makes sense. This would be like, for me, like Creeping Death from Metallica. Like if I had to choose like one song to get someone into Metallica, I would choose Creeping Death, because I think that it's just kind of got the most complete sound that they have. So as much as like Cinderella would be one that I would probably choose, this would probably be the one that would be the most effective to choose, if that makes sense. Really just a really cool song. I really just listen to the song quite a bit, actually. It's really, really good. And you know, the interesting thing is that we kind of got like this like slow part, right? You know, so we have like No Makeup and, you know, No Shock, but I've listened to the rest of the other album. This is the final listen through that I do, right, to kind of help summarize my thoughts. So like No Makeup and like Let Me In, for example, a lot more somber, a little bit more on the slow ballady side of things. So this is kind of like an injection of energy, like the last little bit at the end of the day. And it's just really cool. It's really cool. So anyway, let's move on to Another Day.
다시 시작해 네 머릿속에 생각들은 비운 채 다 지나버린 순간들은 뒤로 해 괜한 앞선 걱정들도 놔줄래 모두 흘러가게 어제에 갇혀 있던 날 한 걸음
작은 새로운 챕 색깔은 매일 늘 다채로운 색 어제와 내일 오늘 모두 뒤돌아보니 하늘엔 레인보우 발걸음에 설렘이 묻어있지 크리센도 여러 윙도 모든 걱정들은 바람 감게 후 그늘진 맘 한켠 햇살들이 닿네 Sunshine on me 오늘 하루 또 다른 날만 들어갈 거야 펼칠 거야 맘껏 문제없어 I'm good
Another day 바로 지금 no 문자 웃기엔 너무 아까운 뜨거운 낮과 눈부신 밤들 이 순간 그려가 새로운 날을 Another day Another
Another Day. To me, I think the interesting thing is that I feel like that Another Day absolutely is a track that I think kind of reestablishes a couple of things. So the big thing with this song for me is that it reestablishes one thing, specifically most important, I think, actually is and should continue to be, I think the most important part about K-pop is that it's a little weird. It's a little weird. And I remember, and I think that this is actually something that's really good. When I first listened, like Wolf, for example, it kind of felt like someone just grabbed me and chucked me into the deep end of the pool. But, in the end, that's kind of what I appreciated. And in fact, for those of you who may have seen, I kind of did that with my buddy Tony. I just took him and just dropped him into the deep end of a pool. And, I think that that's inevitable. If they're, you gotta like the weird stuff, and not like you have to like it, but like it kind of establishes something, and that is that like not being afraid to be experimental for the sake of being experimental. Although sometimes I feel like I admit that maybe it does make it a little bit harder for people to be able to get into. I do think that in the end, that I do believe that it's something that this should be trying to be kept. So it's a little bit of a hard thing for me to score on, because I think that it's a really easy to listen to, a really accessible song, and it has some incredible vocals just up and down, the roller coaster feel that it has. It's probably got the deepest register out of any of the songs after this and before this, but on this entire album, I guess I should say. But I think the interesting thing is that I feel like that there's just this cohesiveness of what I've always known just with a lot of K-pop, and like especially with EXO, like some of their stuff is weird, and that's not a bad thing, but I could see it making it being a little bit harder for some people to get into, but I don't think that's the case with this song. It's not that weird. So anyway, I think Another Day again, I think it's a hidden gem, but it might not be the first one that I show someone, but I think the song is totally fine. I think it's totally fun to listen to too. So anyway, let's move on to the last track and Let Me In, and then I'll summarize kind of my thoughts. So here we go.
어둠 속으로 사라지는 너 기다려도 숨지 말고 허적대잖아 잠겨도 돼 담은 물결치듯 내게 와줘 너 없이는 별 볼 일 없어져 낮도 밤도 달갑지가 않고 공허한 맘을 파도에 눕힌 채 원하고 있어 이토록 나를 내 품속 더 다니고 싶어 그럴 수만 있다면 날 let me be Cause it's blue 너의 두 눈 Gotta let me in your deep ocean 매일같이 기다려
Hey, 네 맘을 볼 거기서만 있다면 좀 더 깊이 높이 뜬 파도 몰아세워 더 질투듯이 감싼지 휩쓸리는 건 계속 내 쪽에서 매번 외면하고 외쳐대도 대책 없이 덮치는 너
이미 여긴 저 태양빛도 닿지 않아 가늠이 안 될 만큼 깊고 외롭지만 널 아는 바다 날 이끄니까 부디 날 삼켜 원하면 어디든 넘어갈게 차라리 이젠 몸을 던져 휩쓸리게
이 감정들에 대한 걱정 따윈 흘려보내
솔직한 말 all from deep inside
아직도 넌 뭘 생각해 담기에 넘치는데
더 달리고 싶어 그럴 수만 있다면 날 알아 let me in Cause it's lost 너의 사랑 Girl let me in your ocean 매일같이 기다려 모든 것이 멈추고 눈과 귀를 가려서 숨 쉴 수가 없대도 내게로 모든 것이 멈춰도 내게 입을 맞춰줘 영원할 수 없대도 이대로 흔히 부서 널 울고만 싶어 가장 깊은 어디든 날 안아내니 Cause it's lost 너의 꿈에 Gotta let me ocean 매일같이 기다려 마저 거슬러 가 우리의 세상 끝으로 I want you 내게로 푸른 바다속 너에게 빠져 Yeah Cause you're my ocean
Okay, perfect. That is Let Me In. I don't think that there's anything that I can really say much about this song. The thing that I will say is that this technically was probably the first time I ever paid attention to a comeback. And so when this song came out, I was enthralled. To me personally, I think this is one of the most gorgeous songs that I think they've put out. I think that this song is basically a perfect song. The vibe, the feel, the whole emotion behind it, it's so emotional. The feeling behind just what, they portray is just out of this world. To me, this is basically a perfect song as well. Kind of the same as Cream Soda, but in the opposite end. And I think that it's interesting how they bookcase the entire album with this and Cream Soda. And I think that, again, it's just, it alludes to this ride that we all take together when we listen to the song. And then in the very end, you kind of have this last little bit of just, it's so genuine, right? The feeling behind it is so genuine. I think that the song that they provided here, again, has that still same kind of vibe. Like, it still has that kind of like 70s vibe and that kind of overall feel. Really, really appreciate that feeling that it has. I think that this is something that they do really well, is I think that they have a very good, tab. They have their finger on the pulse, just so well about how to portray these emotions. I think that it's just such a good song. And I remember just saying to myself when it came out, just like, I can't believe I'm actually able to be a part of this. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So I think that this song, like I said, I don't think there's anything negative to say about this song personally. I think you know as well as I do personally. Again, I think this is just a vibe. I think that this is just a really brilliantly written song. So that's more or less how it feels. So in turn, with everything that we have heard, what do I think overall as a album? I think that this is a pretty juggernaut of an album. I think it's really, really massive. Is it a perfect album? I wish that I could say yes. However, I do think that a perfect album will have no skips. But no need to worry. Here's the truth. One of my favorite albums of all time is this right here. It's Seether's Karma in Effect. And this is what really truly kind of got me into music in many ways. And even this, what I think is probably one of my most important albums in my entire life, is a no-skip album. Or it's not a no-skip album. There's a couple songs on here that I kind of just always go past. So if that tells you anything, even my favorite album of all time, at least one of them, still has something to skip. So I'm still out there searching for the perfect album, I guess I should say. So anyway, I just don't think that you can get much closer than this album, though. I think it's very much highly up there. So in any case, let's take all that we know, throw it into the aggregate, and come away with the final score. So after the aggregate score, 4.9, I feel pretty comfortable with that, mainly just because the fact is it a perfect album? No. But is it a nearly perfect album? I'd say yes. A couple of small stumbling blocks here and there. Of course, it's going to take down the score just a smidgen. But the question is how great is it? The truth of the matter is it's an exceptional album. The truth of the matter is that this is probably one of the best in terms of vibe and accessibility that I've heard yet. Sure, I've only been in this for a couple of albums, but I've been listening to a lot outside of the channel as well now, and let me tell you, this is a very well and deserved score. So, anyway, now to go on to announce the next albums that I would be reviewing. This is going to be a channel first for many, but the next album to be reviewed will be a group by the name of Zia. The album Illusion will be what is up on the docket next. And following after that will be The Renaissance from Super Junior. And yes, the 10th anniversary. And a small little drop right here. I'm also going to be doing Twice's new album. Will be reviewed as well. So get ready for those. This is going to be coming pretty quickly because especially with Zia's being a mini album, it should be pretty crazy. So anyway, thank you all so much, and I hope that you like this. And we will see you for the next one.